person in this picture is Darlene Gentry, a nurse, a wife, and a mother of 3. Her life looked perfect from the outside. Successful career, loving family, and a charming home in Robinson, Texas. But on the morning of November 9th, 2005, a single phone call shattered that image forever. At 6:11 a.m., Darlene dialed 911. Her voice was steady, almost calm, as she told the operator that her husband was lying in bed, covered in blood, barely breathing. What first looked like a violent home invasion would soon unravel into one of the most chilling betrayals Texas had ever seen. Darlene Dos Coso was born in 1974, the middle daughter in a close-knit Texas family. She grew up radiant, ambitious, and unforgettable, with her blonde hair and dazzling smile. Classmates nicknamed her the Texas Beauty Queen, even though she never entered a pageant. In high school, she was prom queen, a flag corps performer, and the kind of girl people remembered for years. She was disciplined, warm, and determined to build a bright future. She first studied dental work, but she dreamed of something more, of becoming a nurse. Friends and family admired her ambition, and she seemed destined for success. In the same town, another life was unfolding. Keith Gentry, born just 2 months apart from Darlene, was known for his quiet strength and reliability. He wasn't the loudest in the room, but he was the one people counted on. A devoted son, a loyal brother, a man who worked hard without complaint. He studied drafting and welding before taking a stable job as an engineering assistant at the local utility company. Keith was, in every sense, a provider, someone who valued family, loyalty, and the simple life. When Darlene and Keith met at college, sparks flew instantly. Their chemistry was undeniable, and soon their families expected wedding bells. But life rarely runs in a straight line. After graduation, Keith hesitated to commit to marriage. The two painfully broke up, and Darlene moved to Dallas to start over. City life didn't suit her. After struggles and setbacks, she returned home, and fate brought her and Keith back together. This time, there was no hesitation. Keith proposed. They married in 1999, and together, they began building the family life they had always dreamed of. By the early 2000s, the Gentrys were living the American dream. A cozy home right next to Keith's parents, stable jobs, Keith in engineering, Darlene as a nurse, and 3 beautiful boys, Chase, Cody, and Cade. Neighbors saw them as the ideal family, smiling at church, playing with their kids in the yard, attending school events. But behind the walls of their home, the cracks were beginning to show. Keith's old job required travel, leaving Darlene juggling kids, work, and household duties alone. To fix it, Keith left his higher-paying position for a desk job that kept him home but paid less. That decision strained their finances. Keith tightened the budget, but Darlene, friends said, still loved spending on nice things and keeping their home picture perfect. Arguments over money grew frequent. Keith confided in family that he felt trapped. Darlene, on the other hand, seemed restless, torn between her role as mother and her longing for something more. Still, no one imagined what was about to happen. On the evening of November 8th, 2005, Darlene went out to dinner with friends. When she returned home, Keith confronted her over a restaurant receipt. They argued, again, about money. Darlene later claimed she left to cool off, then came back and went to bed in a separate room with their children. The next morning, she told police she found the back door wide open, several of Keith's guns missing, and Keith lying in bed, shot in the head, struggling for life. But something about her story didn't add up. Forensic analysis showed Keith had been shot much earlier than Darlene claimed. The missing guns weren't stolen at all. Most of them were found neatly stacked outside the house as if someone staged the scene. The gun cabinet hadn't been forced open. Only Keith and Darlene had access to it. And perhaps the most troubling detail of all, Darlene, a trained nurse, had made no attempt to save her husband. No CPR, no effort to stop the bleeding. Her calm 911 call sounded less like panic and more like explanation. Police searched the home again, this time more carefully. Inside the kitchen trash, buried under waste, they found latex gloves. Inside the gloves, a .22 caliber shell casing, gunshot residue, and DNA from both Keith and Darlene. Then came the discovery of motive. Keith had a life insurance policy worth up to $750,000. For investigators, the picture was becoming clearer. Money troubles, a failing marriage, and now a financial motive. Weeks after Keith's death, while out on bail, Darlene shocked investigators again. She contacted a local landowner about buying property that had a small pond. At first, she said it reminded her of Keith's dream to fish with their sons. But days later, she asked the landowner if he could fill the pond in. Suspicious, the man called police. When divers searched the pond, they found it, the murder weapon, a .22 caliber revolver. But investigators weren't done. They set a trap. The landowner told Darlene he planned to drain the pond. The next day, under hidden cameras, Darlene showed up in boots, wading into the water, poking the exact spot where the gun had already been found. Her actions sealed her fate. In February 2007, Darlene Gentry went to trial for the murder of her husband. The prosecution laid out the gloves, the staged burglary, the insurance money, and then played the surveillance footage of her searching the pond. Her defense offered no witnesses, no alternate explanation. After just 5 days, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Darlene was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Darlene has always maintained her innocence. She will be eligible for parole in 2037. But until then, she serves her time in Gatesville, Texas. Her 3 sons were permanently placed in the custody of Keith's parents. According to court documents, Darlene has had no contact with them since. Keith Gentry is remembered not for the way he died, but for the way he lived. Quiet strength, loyalty, and deep love for his boys. In Robinson, Texas, people still recall the shock of that November morning. A man devoted to his family lost his life, and a woman once seen as the perfect wife and mother became the center of a chilling, true crime story.